everyone. This is episode 17 of the WoolJewel podcast. Welcome to anybody new checking out the podcast for the first time, and welcome back to my subscribers. My name is Caitlin, and this is my podcast mostly about knitting. First of all, I want to thank everybody for subscribing so far. I recently just made it to 1,000 subscribers, so I am really excited about that, and I can't believe how many friends I've made doing this podcast, and it's just been really fun. So to celebrate getting to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a live podcast soon. I haven't decided on the exact time or day, but I think that it's either going to be September 10th or 11th, like sometime that weekend. I have never done a live stream before, so I need to do a test first and make sure that everything's running smoothly. And I also didn't want to do it right away because I want to make sure I have enough content that will make the live episode a lot more fun. And I'm going on vacation next week, which I'll talk about more later. But yeah, I'm not going to be around, so I thought it would just be too stressful to try and get all of that figured out before I leave. So be sure to follow me on Instagram and subscribe here and or join the Ravelry group, because that is how I'm going to announce when that live stream is going to take place. So yeah, I'm planning on having a giveaway during the live stream, so you definitely don't want to miss it. If you're not able to make the live stream, if it goes well, I'm hoping to do them more in the future so that maybe you'll have an opportunity to catch one at some point. Okay, so just a couple quick things before I get into my works in progress. I have 2 knit-alongs going on right now. One of them is going to last to the end of the year, and that is the Any Sock'll Do KAL. So this is a sock knit-along for anybody who is knitting a pair of socks and not entering them into any other knit-along. I started it because all the socks I knit didn't meet the requirements for other sock knit-alongs, so I just decided to have my own. And so all the info on that can be found in the Ravelry group. My other knit-along is the Big Scary KAL. So this is for anybody who is scared of something knitting related. It's kind of a Halloween KAL. It's going to end on November 1st. So just ask yourself if there's anything you're afraid to do with your knitting or anything knitting related. It doesn't even have to be an actual knitting project. And challenge yourself to do it in the next couple months. Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to be on vacation next week. My mom is going to be in France doing an Ironman. She's in her 60s and is doing Ironmans and triathlons. She's amazing. Anyway, so I'm gonna go meet her in France, and she's gonna be doing an Ironman over the weekend, and so I'm gonna go see her, and then we're gonna spend a few days in Paris. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be getting a lot of knitting time in the sunshine, outside, watching the race. I think it's gonna be awesome. But I will not be able to podcast next week because of that. Yeah, so I think the next time I see you guys, it will either be in the live podcast or like in an announcement type video / test run of the live stream. So like I said, I'm gonna try to keep this quick because I just have a lot of things to do before I leave. So I will only be talking about works in progress today, and I'm even skipping block it out because since I'm doing Vlogust, I'm just getting a quick little video every day, and so I'm gonna lump those all together at the end of this episode. Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. All right, works in progress. I have a lot to show you guys today. Let me just give you a little rundown of how I'm feeling about all my works in progress this week before I start talking about them. In the last episode, I was talking about all these sweaters I want to knit, and I just want to knit a bunch of sweaters before I go to a couple festivals, Berlin Knits and Rhinebeck. And I got really excited. I found all these patterns I wanted to do, and I'm usually pretty monogamous about big projects. Like I'll have one main garment thing I'm working on and then a few smaller things like accessories or socks or whatever on the side. But I was trying something a little different. I decided to cast on like 5 different sweaters and have them all going simultaneously just because I was really excited about all of them, and I don't really have much in the way of like side projects right now. So I was like, I'll just cast on all these sweaters I want to knit because I want to do them eventually. Yeah, so I had 5 sweaters on the needles. They were all going really well. I was excited about all of them. And all of a sudden, like in the span of 2 or 3 days, I had major problems with every single project, and I felt like everything was going wrong, and it was really, really frustrating. I was really upset. It was very frustrating that I had so many things on the needles, but I didn't want to knit any of them anymore because like there was just nothing that was going well, and like I just didn't really know how to go about fixing all these problems. So some of the problems were a lot worse than others, and some of them weren't that bad, but the problems that weren't that bad are the ones that were easy to fix. I guess, I don't know, it just felt a lot more problematic when it was all happening at once, and I had 5 projects with problems instead of just like this one project that has a problem that's not that big of a deal. It just seemed like a big deal when it was all at once. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, so I was getting really stressed about it because on this vacation that I'm going on, I'm gonna be sitting around watching this Ironman race, and you know, like I'll see my mom go by and that'll be exciting, but like the whole rest of the time I'm just gonna be kind of like sitting around. It's gonna be great. I'm really excited to go spend time outside and watch the race and everything, but I definitely want to have knitting with me. And when I'm traveling, I definitely don't want knitting that I like need to be doing lots of math and need to be writing things down and keeping track of a pattern. I want things that are like easy to do. And I don't want to just knit socks the whole time because this vacation's like a week long, and just socks are just not enough for me. So I was hoping to bring a garment to work on, but I started to get really stressed out because it was like, if all my garments have all these problems, that's not going to be easy travel knitting. So I've been stressing myself out trying to like at least get one of them back on track enough to take it with me and have it be my vacation knitting. Like I just want something like that's going well enough that I feel good about taking it with me. So that's just kind of how I've been feeling lately. And I know that knitting is supposed to be fun, and like usually if something's stressing me out, I just don't do it anymore. But it's like all of these things I was excited about, and then all of a sudden they were all stressing me out. And it would be ridiculous at this point to just like not do any of them or cast on something else. I don't know. I just really want to fix the problems before I leave for vacation. One in particular is the Camaro sweater, which I'm not going to talk about first, but like the Camaro was like the big one that had the biggest problem. So I'll get into that later. Anyway, I'm going to show you something now. I'm here to talk about knitting, so I'm going to show you my knitting. So the first thing I'm going to show you is my Tegna, which is living in my Aimee yellow fringe bag. Okay, I actually got pretty far. So I think the last time I showed you guys my Tegna, I had just finished the lace portion. And so now I've knit most of one half of it. So this is the front. You're actually supposed to knit the back first, but I don't think that it makes that big of a difference. But this is supposed to be the neck, and it is huge. And yes, there is some knitting that you like pick up and knit a small collar on, but it's just a few rows, and I don't think that that is gonna work for me. And I was hitting gauge, so I don't know why this is just so like crazy wide on me. I may have narrow shoulders. Like I always thought that I had kind of normal shoulder width, but maybe I have narrow shoulders because I had the same problem with another sweater I was knitting where it was just like totally falling off. So my main problem with this one, like everything was going really well. And then the thing that stressed me out first about this was the fact that it's bottom up pretty much and not knowing when to separate for the sleeves. It was just hard to tell because this is so customizable lengthwise that every project in Ravelry, you know, it hits at a different spot depending on where the person wanted it to end up. And like I wanted mine not to be super cropped. Like I didn't want like a midriff top. I just didn't want it to like go too far past where my jeans would stop. like when the pattern says like knit however many inches before you separate for the sleeve, I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like on me, because my main issue is I don't know where this is actually gonna hit. Like I don't know if this sleeve separation is gonna be like right up in the armpit, or if it's one of those ones that just has a wider arm and it sits further down. And then also the pattern says that like the length, it tells you to knit here before you separate is for a slightly cropped top. But what does slightly cropped mean? Like that could mean a million different things to a million different people. So I don't know. I was stressing about it, and then I also wasn't sure exactly how to measure the lace when I know that the lace is going to block bigger than what it actually is. So I considered blocking just this portion and then measuring it. So I put it off for a few days and I just like kind of let it stew. And then I was like tired of thinking about it, so I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna separate for the sleeves wherever I am and I'm gonna see what happens. Because I was just tired of worrying about it. I think it's gonna be okay, actually, the sleeves. I'm not too worried about the length anymore. I kind of stopped. That is not worth the stress to me, but I do need to figure this out. So now that I've kind of stopped worrying about the length, and I think that this is gonna be a good length wherever it ends up hitting, this needs to be dealt with. It's just like crazy wide. Yeah, so this really isn't that big of an issue. It just like I said, everything was adding up and it was all happening at the same time. And so it just kind of felt like a bigger deal than it was. And I was already frustrated about the length of it. It's not gonna be that hard to fix. I just have to do it. So if I fix that problem, this could potentially be a good travel project, except for the part where I'm like almost done with it. So I don't want to finish it on my trip and then not have anything left to work on. But yeah, anyway, so this yarn is La Bien-Aimée Allure, and it is alpaca, cashmere, and silk. I don't remember the fiber content, but it is really, really soft, and it's actually a little shiny, and it has a nice amount of halo. And this is probably one of the more luxurious yarns I've ever worked with. So I'm really excited to have that. I think it's gonna be a really beautiful finished object. Oh yeah, and I have a new pin on my bag. It's a catacorn. Becky gave this to me. I went and saw her yesterday? No, the day before yesterday. Yeah, this is Becky from Stringing It Together, but I've been chatting with her a little bit, and we've been trying to meet up for a long time, and I finally was just like, I'm gonna come see you. And I drove up to Frankfurt and we just hung out for a while and we knit, and she gave me this catacorn pin. It looks exactly like Barb, my cat. Like exactly the same. So thank you, Becky. Yeah, it was really fun. We got burgers and knit a little bit. Yeah, it was just nice to get out of a tiny little Steinwenden for a while. Okay, moving on. The Blythe test knit. Okay, so I actually finished this. I can't officially put it in the finished objects because I finished it, but it needs fixing. So it is blocked. I bound off, blocked. I added the fringe, which got really fluffy when I washed it, which I'm totally fine with. Like the yarn totally unplied itself. But I kind of wish I'd made it a little bit longer now that I know that it's doing that effect. But I have a whole extra ball of this yarn, so maybe I'll just add more later. So here is the sweater. It is awesome. It's really, really, really cozy. It's a one size pattern, so when the pattern's released, definitely check it out. It was a super easy, super fast knit. It's DK weight yarn on size US 8 needles, so it just kind of flew by. So the reason why I can't call this finished object is because the sleeves are crazy long. Like, it didn't grow that much in the body when I washed it, but the sleeves certainly did. So it has this fitted cuff and like a really dramatic decrease for the sleeve, because the sleeves are really wide and then it just decreases really quickly to get this fitted cuff. But mine, when I wear it, the cuff hangs down to the fingers like this. Like when I actually have it on, it hangs down really far and the cuff is like way up here. So they just kind of look like these ridiculous wizard sleeves. And it's a really easy fix. I just wasn't sure exactly how far to rip back because taking into account the length of the cuff. But one of my friends came over. Hi, Michelle. She came over and helped me. I just kind of needed an extra set of hands to like hold the sleeve exactly where it needed to be, and it was really hard to do by myself, so that's why I kind of put it off for so long. Like I said, it's not that hard to fix. I just need to rip back and reknit the cuff with the decreases and it'll be fine. So yeah, but it's very cozy. I can't wait to wear it in the fall. Okay, next sweater. I started another So Faded with this fully spun yarn that I mentioned in my last Wool Booty video. Oh, it kind of matches my shawl. If you didn't watch the last Wool Booty, I won this yarn as a prize for the Keep Knittin' Kitten KAL that Becky from Stringing It Together co-hosted with Hannah from the Corner of Craft. So I won this amazing yarn. It's from Fully Spun, and the skeins are huge. This is like, I can't remember. It might be, it's definitely over 100 grams, but there's like 600 something yards in this. So yeah, it's a lot of yarn. And so I decided 600 yards is about half of a sweater. So I wanted to just pair it with something else and put this in a sweater. And I found in my stash this Knit Picks palette yarn. I thought that the colors would work really beautifully together. It's kind of a really light bluish gray. And I thought that that would look really pretty together. And they are similar in that they're both a fingering weight 2-ply yarn. The problem is that this is a lot fluffier, and what I originally wanted to do was stripe every single row, like alternate the colors every single row. But I only have 2 balls of this and they're 50-gram balls, so I wouldn't be able to stripe every row throughout the whole sweater. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll just do bigger stripe chunks or do like 3 rows of this and 1 per every 1 row of this. So I was just kind of playing around with it, and it turns out that just having 1 row of this at a time wasn't gonna work out because this is so much thicker and I just didn't like what it was doing to the fabric. So then I thought I'll just have wider stripes, and the fully spun yarn is a lot thinner, so it kind of was gonna be a little bit see-through, which I'm totally cool with, and then I'd have these more opaque stripes with the palette yarn. And I thought that that was pretty cool, except I'm not really digging this much color variation in 1 stripe of the fully spun. I kind of wanted like an overall gradient and not like a gradient and a solid and a gradient and a solid. I don't know. So I haven't decided if I'm gonna frog this or if I'm just gonna keep going, because sometimes what I'm looking at can be deceiving. Like I'm not really sure, like I can't get a sense of the whole project. This is as far as I've gotten. I'm trying to figure out which way is the right side. Yeah, it's hard. It's just hard for me to get a sense of what the whole thing is gonna look like just from a few inches. But I have a feeling I'm not gonna be into it. So I might just frog it and save the yarn for when I have a more clear idea. I mean, this didn't really have major problems, but I was just like, I don't know what to do about the stripes. I don't know what to do. And I tried the thinner stripes, and now I'm trying the thicker ones, and like nothing was like working in the way I was envisioning it in my head. So this is just kind of at a standstill. I'm not, like, this is definitely not gonna come with me to France, but I don't know. I'll just decide what to do with it later. So that was kind of frustrating because I was really excited about it when I started it. And the So Faded is like really easy It's a nice, simple raglan pattern, and you don't have to do the fade. Like, it's really easy to just do whatever colors you want. Okay, it's time to talk about the Camaro. So last time I showed this sweater, I had finished the chevron yoke and one stripe on the sleeves, and I was waiting for my main color yarn to arrive. My main color yarn arrived, and I immediately balled up the yarn and started knitting. So the sweater has a ribbed split hem. I knit all of the stockinette all the way down to where the ribbing was supposed to start. I was about to split for the hem, and I decided to try it on. So I put it on some scrap yarn so that it would be able to fit me. I tried it on, and it was a tent. Like, it was huge, and I am super okay with positive ease. I really like big sweaters, but it was weird because like the yoke fit really nicely. It was like fitted up here, and then it just kind of like ballooned out. It was kind of absurd. And I'm knitting it with superwash, so I just knew it was gonna get even bigger, and I was like, I'm just not into this. I think that the style of this sweater just makes a lot more sense if it is a more closer fitting garment. Oh, before I even show you, I have to tell you, I sat there and I was trying to think about how could I keep the yoke and just maybe do decreases or something to make the body fit, because I really liked the way the yoke looked, and there was just like really nothing I could do, at least that I could figure out. So I frogged the whole thing, and I got a little time lapse of it that you'll see in my Vlogust footage at the end of this episode. So yeah, so I frogged the whole thing, and here I am. It's less than what I showed you last time. So when I redid this, I decided I was going to do a lot of math to make sure that I was casting on the right size this time. And each size only has a couple inches of difference. So I was knitting the 36 inch before, because I am exactly 36 inches. And I figure if I knit the 36 and it's in superwash, then it will have just the right amount of positive ease when I'm done with it. But no, my gauge was way different than my swatch. You guys saw my swatch. I definitely made a swatch. And yeah, I don't know. Lately, my swatches have not been turning out what my actual garments are, like at all. Like, everything is just different lately. So I figured out, I measured before I frogged what my gauge was, and I checked in lots of different places in the sweater what my gauge was, and my gauge was way bigger than what the pattern called for. And I was like, that's totally fine. I will just do the math and figure out their circumference that I want, and, you know, divide and figure out how many stitches I need for the bust to figure out what size I need. Okay, the problem with that is this sweater, the way the yoke works, has the front coming down to this point and the back sits much higher. And when you put it on, it's kind of like it'll come down at a slant on the side. So it's like, here's the back and it slants down to the front for the chevron. So the amount of stitches you have on the needles is not the actual, it's not what you can measure for the circumference, because it's at an angle. It's not sitting across your chest like this. It's sitting, I don't know. I don't know if it's making any sense, but you're measuring like a diagonal measurement, and like there's no way for me to know exactly how many inches I need, because I don't know the, like, how can you measure that on your body? So that was the main issue. I think figuring out the sizing for me. So I just cast it on 4 sizes smaller, because my gauge was that much bigger than what the pattern called for. So I knit 4 sizes smaller, the size 30, And actually the neck is perfect. I love the size of the neck opening. I love where the shoulders sit. Okay, and then what I was finding out was as I got closer to where you separate for the sleeves, the stitch count was where I wanted it, but the length from, I don't know if this has a name, but the measurement that goes from the neck to the armpit was way too short. And so the sleeve separation was like, it was gonna like dig in. It was way too short for me. So I didn't know what to do because I can't just like keep knitting without increasing because then the shape would be wrong. And so I just had to like keep increasing to get down to where I wanted to separate for the sleeves, but then my stitch count was way too big. So now I'm at this point where I have the sleeves where I want them, but the stitch count is just like way too much. It's too big again. My stitch count is really close to where it was when I first knit this in the size 36. Like that's how much of a difference it makes. So I mean, usually if you're knitting a pattern, like if it's a simple construction and your gauge is off, you can just do math to figure out, okay, I just need to knit like 2 sizes smaller, or I just need to knit 1 size bigger, and then it'll work out. Or you can just calculate how many stitches you need for your personal measurement. But this does not work that way. I do not recommend this pattern unless your gauge is exactly right, because of this weird situation where the stitch count that you're looking at is not the actual circumference because it sits at an angle. And so it's like really hard to figure out what you need. And I was also frustrating, and I kind of felt like a failure because like I was looking at all these beautiful finished objects for the projects on this pattern on Ravelry, and like so many people knit the sweater with 0 problems, and I don't know, it's just really frustrating. But I love the way the yarn looks together, and I can't think of a better pattern to use these colors on. I love the way the stripes are. I love this chevron. But also the way the construction works is that after you're done evening out the chevron and then just knitting the straight stockinette tube, just the way it's constructed, it kind of has a flare without adding any increases. It flares out like it's a tiny bit of an A-line, and it was just way too exaggerated on me. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can strategically place some decreases maybe on the side or something, so that I don't get that flare. But I don't know. I love this project, and I knit it so fast because it really is an addicting knit, just the way it is. It was going so fast, and I was so excited about it, and I was almost done. Except for the sleeves. I felt like I was almost done, and then I just had to frog the whole thing. And I was feeling pretty defeated. Like, I'm totally fine with like the logic of having a better finished object and taking 2 or 3 times as long to make it. I know I'm gonna be glad in the end that I did, but that doesn't mean that I was happy doing it. Like I was very upset. This is the one I'm most excited to have a finished object of. I just think it's super cute. I really wanted to wear this to Berlin Knits, and so this is the one I've been pouring all my time and energy into because I really want to get this back on track before my vacation. Like I wanted this to be my vacation knitting. Because once you get past the yoke, it's really, really easy, and I won't need to bring the pattern with me, and yeah, I don't know, but I spent hours and hours yesterday doing math, figuring it out. I knit from the start of this neon stripe to the sleeve separation like 3 times. I don't know, I just really want it to be right, and at this point I've sunk a lot of hours into it, and so I don't know, I feel some pressure on myself to get this figured out before vacation so I can bring it with me. And I do want my knitting to be fun, but it's more fun to have a really awesome finished object, I think, sometimes than it is to like do all the math and figure everything out. Okay, we're getting there. I have a couple more things to show you. Okay, so 2 more sweater things. I've got my big chunky design that I'm working on. So this is not stressful. This is a lot more fun, especially because it goes really fast because I'm knitting it with the Wool in the Gang Crazy Sexy Wool. So I'm kind of just designing this really simple sweater for myself. It has a circular yoke with eyelet increases. And you can see here, it was going really well. Last time I showed it to you, it was a little too big, and so I ripped back to the sleeve separation, and I just made it better fitting. I put the sleeves starting a little higher, like I think they were kind of down here before, and so I moved the sleeve separation up to be more fitted. Yeah, so then I you know, did the short row thing to even out the back, and I've knit a couple different hems on this, and I'm not loving any of them. Like, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to imagine what kind of hem I might like with this giant wool. I've tried a few different things, so I don't know. I kind of put this on hold until maybe I have a better idea. I already kind of have an idea of what I want to do for the sleeves and the neck. It's not going to flare like this. Like, it's going to come, I think it's going to have a turtleneck in some way or another. So yeah, like this wasn't causing me any stress because this is totally on the side. I've never really designed before, and this is just an experiment. And it's not like I'm going to be able to wear it anytime soon anyway because it's so heavy. But it just happened that like I tried a few different hems and none of them were working like right about the same time that all my other projects started having problems. So I was just like, oh, okay, I'm not going to work on you anymore. So this is just kind of on hold for the next couple weeks. I'm just not going to even think about it. But yeah, so that's what's going on with this. And one more thing, it's not a project I've casted on yet, but I am doing another test knit. I can't say no to test knits. They're fun. It's like, yeah, like I don't need to be adding more things to my to-do list, but the test knitting is fun, I think, because it's kind of like a mini knit along. Like you're in this small group of people doing this pattern all together, but it's better than a knit along because you're kind of one-on-one with the designer if you need to be. If you have problems, you can ask for help. And it's more involved than knit alongs. At least for me, a knit along is just kind of like, I'll knit this thing that everybody else is doing and I'll enter it when I'm done. Like, I usually don't keep up with the chatter threads and things because, to be honest, I think that the Ravelry forum situation is like really dated and it's hard to navigate for me, at least. I don't know. It just isn't convenient and doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me the way it's set up, so I don't spend a lot of time in the forums. But test knitting is fun because it's usually, you know, it's a smaller group and it's easier to have the chatter going about the project. So yeah, I think that's why I really like them. And I only sign up for test knits if I was in love with a project anyway. Like the Blythe, like I saw that on Instagram and I was like, I'm gonna make that someday if she ever releases a pattern, and then she did, so yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to be knitting the new Caitlin Hunter pattern, which if you follow her on Instagram, it is the one with like the really beautiful lace yoke. It's so pretty. But yeah, so that is done with a DK yarn. And I've had some bare DK yarn in my stash for a while that I've been saving for a sweater project. And I thought I was going to use it on the Ninilchik Swan Show, but I decided I like the idea of doing the Ninilchik Swan Show in like a tweed yarn like the original was, so I don't know, I just kind of set it aside and didn't know what I was going to use it for. And then I saw that she was calling for testers for this pattern, And so I jumped on it, and I don't know, I love everything she's released so far, but I think this is probably my absolute favorite that I've seen. But yeah, it has this beautiful lace circular yoke, and I was just hemming and hawing. I was like, I don't know what color I want to do it in. I have all this berry yarn, but then I was like, maybe I should just buy yarn for it. I just got the yarn out and I put it in its citric acid soak, and I went in there and started cranking up the dye pots without any clue what color I was gonna do. I just knew I wanted it to be autumny. This is what I've got. Here's 2 different skeins. I have 2 batches of this yarn. The first batch I did as a test, kind of, with 2 skeins. They came out like this. So this is from the first batch. It's kind of this rusty color. I decided in the moment that I wanted like a dark brown, and the lighter spots would be like a pumpkin-y orange. So the brown didn't get quite where I wanted it, but I still really love this color. So I took really diligent notes of what I did to be able to recreate this for the next batch, because I needed 5 skeins done. And the next batch I did, I'll insert a picture here of what happened. So one of the skeins is this, and then the other one came out this like just light brown muted color, which is super weird because before I added the brown, the second batch looked way more orangey than the first batch, but all the orange like went away or got covered up or something. So I was just kind of like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And like, I am no expert dyer. Like, I kind of know what I'm doing, but if there's a problem, I don't necessarily know how to fix it. So I did everything. I feel like I really tried to keep every variable exactly the same to try to recreate it, and it just wasn't the same. Like, I couldn't really tell until the yarn was totally dry. So after it dried, this is what it looked like. It was kind of this muted brown, and I was like, this isn't gonna work. Like, regardless of what I do, like even if I alternate every single skein, it's just not gonna look right. And I didn't, like, it was pretty, but it wasn't as special as this. So I tossed them back in the dye pot. I just added a lot of the mixture that I used to get the, like, I used a mixture for an orangey color, and then I added the chocolate brown, and like, this is what I got. So I just made a lot more of this orange mixture. Yeah, I just over dyed it, and this is what I got. So they are pretty darn close. I am really, really pleased because it was a total shot in the dark. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work at all, because it was different amounts and it was different dye technique and everything than the first batch. And they are not exactly the same, but I think on camera you can't even tell. They're a little different, but they are close enough to use in a project. I just have to be careful to alternate like first batch, second batch, first batch, second batch, so that they're kind of like all mixed in. But yeah, I'm so relieved, because if this didn't work, I wasn't gonna have any yarn for this test knit unless I over dyed all of it black or something, and I definitely didn't want to do that. So that's a huge relief. Like, these were dry this morning. I did this yesterday, and so this morning I woke up and the first thing I did was run over to my yarn to see if it matched, and like, thank the fiber gods, it worked. I just am so relieved, because after all of the other frustrating stuff I was dealing with my projects this week, if I didn't have yarn for this test knit, I was gonna be in big trouble, because it's due early September. Which is only a couple weeks away. So I was like, I really want this yarn to go well. I want to cast on, and I want to get through a big chunk of the lace yoke before my vacation. I want that to also be vacation knitting. I honestly don't think it's gonna take me very long to knit, because it's slightly cropped, it's DK weight, and I don't know, usually I can knit a bigger sweater than that in about 2 weeks. So I'll definitely have it done in time. But if this yarn did not go the way I wanted it to, I wasn't gonna have it done at all because I would have had to order more yarn. And sometimes things take a long time to get here. So now I'm just kind of worried about the swatch. So I have to swatch this yarn now that I've dyed it up and I have it, and I'm like really worried that my swatch isn't gonna match, because then I would just have to do a lot of math or something. So fingers crossed for that. Okay, so thanks for letting me dump all my sweater struggles on you, but I'm done. I have 2 pairs of socks going right now, and I will show them to you. The first pair you've already seen. They are socks for Ben, which I'm just doing a plain vanilla sock. Judy's Magic Cast On. I'm doing the Fish Lips Kiss thing, so I've got his cardboard foot, and I just reached the line where I'm about to where I'm about to start the heel. So yeah, once I do the heel on these, then I just knit the cuff and I'll be done. Not much to show on that. Oh yeah, this yarn was dyed by Anna from the Dunkelgrün podcast. She named it Creeper in My Backyard. It's really awesome. It kind of spirals up the sock in a really cool way. I love it. And I think I'll have enough to make a matching pair for myself. If Ben doesn't think that's too dorky, I'm gonna have matching socks. And my other pair of socks is for myself. This is Malabrigo sock yarn. I don't remember the name of the colorway or the number. I don't remember how they do it. But this yarn is just one of those magic never-ending balls of yarn. This sock yarn has been in so many of my projects. I got it maybe like a year and a half ago. I'm not sure, but I used this in my Vertices Unite shawl. But ever since then, I've used this pink yarn in a lot of different like scrappy projects, like Stephen West things. I knit a pair of socks for my sister with this yarn. Not the whole pair of socks, but like half of the socks, half of the yarn in those socks was this, and like there's still a bunch left. So I'm gonna knit myself half pink and half speckled. So the pink is gonna go up to maybe the middle of my arch, and then I'm going to do a speckled yarn for the heel and the cuff. I just haven't decided which yarn yet. So yeah, these socks I only knit on, I don't want to say when I'm teaching online, but like if I'm, like I usually have to get into the online classroom early, and so I knit on these while I'm waiting for the student to show up. I knit on them if the student's late. I knit on them if there's a student no-show. I just kind of sit there. So these kind of live at my desk, and I don't take them with me anywhere, and I only work on them when I'm in there. I just thought it would be convenient to have a project that lives at that desk. Who knows when these will be done, because I only get in a few rows at a time. And I don't teach every single day, so those will probably take a long time to finish. Yeah, that's all the knitting I have for today. I know it was a lot of projects. It was a lot of complaining. I'm sorry, but I don't know. I have to get things off my chest. I'm like living alone right now because Ben is gone for 3 months, and I don't know. I need to talk about this stuff. I feel like I need to figure out my knitting stuff. I have to get my act together before this vacation. Can you tell that I'm stressed out? Okay, anyway, so like I said, I was gonna try to keep it short, and I didn't really keep it short, but I'm not gonna talk about anything else. So I'm gonna put in my Vlogust footage here. I really tried to get a little bit of video of something every day, but I think there were a couple of days that I missed. But anyway, I'll see you guys in September when I come back from France, and get excited about the live podcast. It's gonna be really fun. So be sure to subscribe if you wanna stay updated. Go join the Ravelry group and follow me on Instagram if you don't wanna miss the live podcast. And I will see you guys then. Bye. Finished teaching for the day, teaching online. I've got plans to finish my Blythe sweater today. I may or may not weave in those ends. And today, even though we're still in August, I am wearing some knits. I've got on a sweater and my hand knit socks because it is that chilly today. So yes, I want summer to last a little longer, but like, who can complain about wearing hand knits? I've got on my amazing Technicolor Dream Sweater by Stephen West in Madeline Tosh Mow Light. So this one is merino and mohair. And I don't remember what I used for the contrast color, but I love this. It's got awesome construction. It was really fun to knit, and it is one of my most worn hand knits. My husband is great for a lot of reasons, but one reason in particular is because while he's on deployment, he ordered my favorite coffee for me. I actually just ran out of coffee the other day, and I've been stalling buying more, and this came just at the right time. This is Temple Coffee from Sacramento, where we used to live before we came to Germany, and I've been missing it. It was my favorite coffee place, and now I have my own. Also, Germany may not have local yarn stores the way they are in the US, but one thing that is great about Germany is that you can get Regia sock yarn at the supermarket for half the price of what you spend online. Like on yarn.com, which is the web shop, they sell it for like $18, and this was €7. I just posted this week's episode and I'm exhausted. I had like so many problems editing, and after I uploaded everything, which takes forever because the file size is so huge, I realized I totally forgot to include a couple of really important things, and I also accidentally put this really loud jazzy music in the wrong spot, and it's covering up me talking. Like, I have no idea how it got there. But I'm gonna make some dinner now and watch Game of Thrones because it is Thursday and it aired on Sunday and I need to watch it. And it's really cold today, even though it's August, so I'm wearing my Marble Magic. I just finished Game of Thrones and it was amazing. Oh my God. It's August 11th and I'm having knit time with my friends. And Shara's gonna tell you about her sweaters.
This is a bubbly sweater. It's my first kind of try at color work. And it was a really easy way to start. It's a very easy pattern. You never go more than 2 stitches between the colors, or maybe actually it goes 4, but you don't have to like wind or anything. So it's very easy. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yay! Thank you, Shara.
It is Melamia, Sweden.
Let's get a close-up of that ball band. Are both colors the same yarn?
Yes.
Nice. Thanks, Shara. Tell me what you just did.
I made a heel.
How many heels have you done in your life?
1. I've been working on this sock for like, I don't know, since early summer. And it's almost fall. I just hope I get the other one done before fall.
And what kind of yarn do you have there?
This is a WoolJewel dyed yarn, fingering weight, or sock yarn. And the colorway is Ambition. And it's a pair. It's
my Slytherin sock.
Named after the Slytherin house.
Yay!
Yeah.
What kind of heel did you do?
Fish lips, kiss heel.
Yes.
And it's the first time I did it.
Yay! It looks awesome.
Yeah.
I just had the most amazing knit time with a couple of my friends, and Shara made zucchini bread with zucchinis from her garden, and it was awesome. It's really cold today, actually, so I'm wearing a hand knit sweater, I'm wearing hand knit socks, and it really feels like fall, which I know is ridiculous because it's early August still, but the zucchini bread smelled so good. And it just like smelled like fall, and it was chilly inside, and it just, I don't know. I'm in an autumn mood today, and it's so great. It is 11:30 p.m. on August 12th, and I am just coming in under the wire on getting a video for today. So I did a lot of cleaning, and Michelle came over and she brought some oil that she thought would work for my spinning wheel, and it totally did. So thank you, Michelle. So I can get back to spinning on my wheel. And I have been working on my big chunky sweater that I'm designing. I had to frog back several inches to get the fit better. And I've been working on my Tegna. I separated for the sleeves, and I mean, you can't really see what's happening, but I separated for the sleeves. So I think that'll be done, you know, maybe in the next week or two, depending on how much time I give it. I just added the fringe on the sweater, and it's gonna go for a soak now. Madeline Tosh arrived today, and I just balled it up. This color is going to be the main color on my Camaro sweater. Online it looked a lot more blue and purple, but it's really this like gray with kind of orangey speckles in it. I really like it, and it's fine. It's kind of a Halloween-y sweater anyway, so I really want to work on it, but Cat is on my sweater and she's just too cute to move right now. What do I do? Okay, I'm going for it. Give me that. Give me. Ah! Yes. Yes. Give me that. Oh. Got it. Got it.
Pineapple.
You waving bread? What the shit? So I am getting close to being done with my Camaro sweater. So I was trying it on, and it is huge, like really, really huge. I just measured my gauge in the project, and it's way, way, way off. I need to knit the sweater 5 sizes smaller. So I guess all I can do right now is frog the whole thing and redo it. There it is, sitting on the floor. Look how far I got. I was about to do the hem, and now it's not gonna be anything. I did it. I frogged my Camaro. So I just frogged my Camaro, and I'm pretty bummed about it. It needed to happen. There wasn't really anything I could do construction-wise to make the fit what it needed to be. So I'm okay with the fact that I had to do it in general, but that doesn't mean I'm not sad. It was really fun to knit, and I had a lot of steam going, and I was almost to the hem on the body, and it went really fast. And so I guess now I'm just kind of afraid that if I cast on again, it's not going to be as fun the second time, and I'm just not going to really get it done. I'm making avocado toast. As much fun as that wine tasting was, I came home to discover that I left the skylight in my bedroom open and it poured rain. So my mattress and like my bedside table and my whole bed are soaking wet. I just got back from ballet class. It is August 20th and it was a 2-hour class because they're doing a week-long intensive, which I can only go to a little bit of, but yeah, it was a really good class, a new teacher, and I'm getting all my stuff ready to go meet Becky. But I am worried about what projects I'm gonna bring to knit.
Yes.